Chapter 85 to 89. Einar's POV. Foo. The howl echoed like a storm in that alternate reality. The white beast was one of its kind, as I had never encountered anything like that. Even though Vortigern in demon dragon form was much fiercer, the beast was one of its own leagues. Just his face was like a curse that you can't stand to look at, its eyes from sheer repulsion that could even shrug the soul out of the body. It was the most fearsome beast I have ever seen. What the hell is that thing? I questioned myself while keeping my distance in the air. Although I was strong enough as a knight to test some close combat tactics, considering it was an early battle, I ain't as stupid as to get even close to that thing. First, it was not some ordinary enemy with a certain mindset like humans or with a wild strategy like monsters. Second, it was affecting me from some unknown means that made me afraid to even pull my full strength. Bad news, Einar, your luck is out of time. It was Elaine's voice. Quit using JoJo reference and tell me what the hell that thing is? If possible, that it is most likely the white beast, or otherwise known as primate murder. A chill ran down my spine when Elaine explained to me what that thing was. When I was studying to make strategies against Will of the World, I naturally came across the existence of this beast. Primate murder, or the white beast, is a being and an exceptional existence that the world created to end humanity. It was vague and odd information that Merlin and Scathach gathered, but other than that I didn't have a single piece of information about its strength. But, what is this feeling? It is as if Correct, it has absolute right of killing over the man, a super advantage over primates. In short, as long as someone is of human origin, it will use a passive buff to kill. The hell? I was in complete shock. The time it appeared, I was feeling like my soul getting shake in my body. No wonder I was feeling afraid, even though I should have been calmly assessing the situation. Foo. The beast howled again and released a white ray from its mouth. I immediately cast a defensive shield to protect myself. Einar, don't block it. With Elaine's warning and my instincts, I quickly move away from the beam. Without even hindering the energy beam, the shield, that could have resisted even Excalibur, vanished in the dust. No way. It was hard to believe that since, even though the shield was not my strongest spell compared to Pollen Garden or Primordial Runes, it was still a high-tier spell. Einar, something is wrong with its power. It shouldn't be this strong. I know. It must be that bitch who is supporting that monster with all the means at her disposal. I have to admit, she came with complete preparation. I smiled, but I was still worried about how to handle that thing. Foo. The beast howled again and jumped at me. However, I felt like losing control over my body, but I was still able to dodge the beast in the air. Now is the chance. I didn't let go of chance and used increase in half-spirit form. Golden daggers flew in the air and began attacking the beast in the air. Foo. It groaned in pain when sharp daggers started piercing its skin before dropping on the dirt. I then changed daggers into a giant sunflower with spiked teeth surrounding the center of its mouth-like opening with roots that dwarf its original size. It was Sunflower, half-spirit form of normal sunflower. Although it was shorter than its original counterpart, the destructive force was something unmatched, even capable of surpassing Rongominiad. This is the end. Without waiting for a second, I aimed at the grounded beast as the flower opened its mouth and shot hundreds among thousands of projectiles, creating massive destruction. Boom asterisk. The explosion covered the area of 50 meters of radius and was so catastrophic that even shook the whole reality, erasing the surrounding building into nothingness. It was the first time that I used such destructive force at its full capabilities. I could have boosted a little more, but I had to preserve my mana as my spell was still incomplete. Taking risk of going all out could have saved a lot of time, but it would result in delaying more time. It was quite an expressive feat. I heard a voice and didn't need to see who the thing was. Mississippi Alea, I should warn you that engaging me here is meaningless. Don't force me to take drastic measures. I said in a cold tone while keeping an eye on the dome of dust. Mr. Einar, as I told you earlier, I am simply the will manifested in human shape, so these baseless threats won't work on me. Instead, you should focus on the divine beast. She said. I was confused, but soon my confusion got replaced with shock as the dust cleared. I saw the beast in the bloodied state but was getting healed at tremendous speed from green energy around it. I widened my eyes and looked at Alea scornfully. In addition to his absolute right of killing over man, I also gifted it an ability to absorb divine and fairy energy as its own energy. Now this is cheating. And in the next moment, the beast vanished and appeared in front of me in the blink of an eye. Fuck. It raised its hand and punched me away. Boom asterisk. Third person's POV. Great victory. Now the fighting will end. I will return home after this battle. Yeah, my family is waiting. Soldiers were taking a breath of relief for the sign of peace that they just achieved by breaking Rome's backbone, then negotiating with them. We formed a treaty with Rome. At least, for while I'm alive, Rome won't attack us. It was the voice of King Arthur. Although the king was not even hiding the fact that she was a girl, Arturia, instead of Arthur, knights only see her as an ideal king irrespective of gender. However, in her last expedition, she was all alone. Merlin also left before the negotiation while most of the original knights of the Round Table were staying in Britain. Oh. All the knights cheered, however, their peace was short-lived as a reporter came running with the worst news. News of Lord Mordred, he started a rebellion. 7 of the 8 princes had a series of defeats and report that Camelot has fallen. New tension appeared on the faces of soldiers except for Arturia. Sigh asterisk, please be safe Einar, my beloved, and forgive me one final time, Arturia muttered with a sigh before raising her sword for one final victory. Einar's POV. Boom asterisk. With another explosion, a person flew in the air and then crashed into a boulder. Arg. I groaned in pain as I broke several bones for the nth time. First time in my life I was fighting a hard battle. First, the attack from Sunflower boosted the beast instead of weakening it, and then my own magic that Vivian and Merlin taught me rendered to be useless. Although rune magic had some effect on stalling the beast, it eventually produced hundreds of mini-beast or dire wolves, not giving me a single minute to relax to strategize. And let me tell you another piece of news, I was trying to kill that mutt for freaking 5 hours to somehow install a little time and complete the grand spell. I only had 50% mana left. The reason I didn't use Divine Rune in the battle was that I still required 40% mana to construct 2 Divine Runes and complete the grand spell. If I used that, then whether or not I could defeat the mutt, I would surely be trapped in that shithole for another week. I was also praying to God for a little help and miracle even though I am half God. Yeah, bad pun. Cough asterisk fuck me. I coughed a mouthful of blood then applied healing runes on my body. So do you give up returning that isle? You can always accept my proposal to become the counter-guardian. Alea came with her beast and little mutts near me. Go fuck yourself. I showed her middle finger and secretly start chanting Divine Rune since I would die if I stall any more time. It is a shame for humanity to lose such a fine warrior, Alea said with a monotone before nodding at the beast. The white beast aimed its direction towards me and began charging energy beam in its mouth. I gritted my teeth and was ready to cast a Divine Rune when purplish snowflakes start falling from the sky and the air got colder. All of us were confused as we raised our heads and looked at the sky. Numerous ripples started forming in the sky until several towers emerged from the sky upside down. It was then I identified the lady who also came from the sky and pronounced the name of her noble phantasm. Gate of Sky. It was the arrival of my goddess. Einar's POV. Gate of Sky. Just as the lady pronounced the name of her noble phantasm, all the towers in the sky began glowing, congealing the entire wasteland into purplish frozen land. The beast and its mutts also turned into ice in no time. I sensed that her ice was even draining, although little, energy from all those mutts and the beast. The lady landed in front of me. She was my scat hack. What terrible sight my disciple is showing. She put a finger on her cheek and smiled. Sure show. I called her with tears in my eyes. Only I know how happy I was seeing her arrival on time. I then stood up and turned my head down. I am sorry, sure show. Even though my tone was apologetic and my head was down, my eyes were constantly ogling her fine thighs. She was wearing a moderated skin-tight suit similar to her usual attire with her cleavage exposed and a long skirt on her waist with the front bottom being exposed. It was the outfit that I made for her but never got the chance to see her that attire. And, Scotty's second ascension. Cut the act, disciple. I know you are secretly ogling on my body. Ops busted. She knew that even in battle, my eyes can't help but ogle her body even though I never admitted it before. I smiled with tears in my eyes, thank you, sure show. She came near me and wiped my eyes. Idiot, look how strong and handsome you have become in the blink of an eye. Be a little proud that you are still fighting. Well, it has been 10 years, but for her, those years could only be called a second in her world. I nodded with a smile for those words of encouragement. By the way, I am only here to provide little assistance. Tell me how much time you need? As a teacher, she knew that I had a plan, but the only requirement was time. Well, I was a little ashamed since it would be quite hard even for me to make it on time given. 4 hours is all I could provide at my best limit. You think you can make it on time? Yeah. I smiled and nodded. I knew that she was using Noble Phantasm a little different from her usual Gate of Sky, where she summons a giant gate that sucks all life forms before dematerializing itself. It was powerful NP, but weak against someone with high magic resistance and non-human trait. Then without wasting more time, I flew away, found a good spot that was not destroyed or frozen, and landed on one. I then sat crossed legs and closed my eyes. Open the real Avalon. Just as I said that, I felt my surrounding changed, and when I opened my eyes, I was again in a different reality. It was a real Avalon instead of the artificial one that my book of Chastiefol provides. Welcome to Avalon, Einar Sirius. I turned my head and saw a familiar figure with a smiling face. Elaine, no, mother. I instantly recognized her. She was not the AI, but a real fairy who I remembered from my memories. Wow. To think you would call me a mother who left you as soon as you regain your original memories of the previous life. Elaine, no, my real mother smiled. Of course, although it was hard, it was nothing compared to the blessing you have granted to this poor soul. I will always be grateful for the person who has given me a new life. I bowed my head gracefully. Though I was in great danger right then as I was facing the will of the world itself, the life I lived so far was nothing but a blessing in disguise. I never have an attachment to my previous world except for my parents and my siblings, but this life provided me everything a helpless man ever desired. A love, affection of noble people and teachers such as Vivian, Merlin, and Scathach, who never questioned my goals and desires for acquiring power. All of this was enough for me to be grateful for the key person even though she never appeared in person. Without saying a single word, she gently hugged me. I am so glad those were her words. I also put my hands around her shoulders gently. It would be a great union if fairies, not being perverts. Mother Elaine, your hand is slipping. I noticed that her hands were roaming my ass, something I was familiar with after living with Vivian. Well, you see. Fairies have very little fertility rate, and I heard from Vivian that you have, oh dear, way long dash. Okay, time's up, I said, and then put some distance between ourselves. What a bummer. Elaine sighed, then a serious expression appeared on her face. Einar, let me ask you again, are you positive about your decision since you finally opened the gate of Real Avalon? Yes, I am. I can't risk the lives of those my beloveds and delay any more time. Even though I was strong, it was finally time to leave my human side if I have to face that beast. Losing humanity means losing my chance to live with her, but it's okay. Then sit down and relax. It will take time. I nodded at her instructions and sat down with crossed legs and closed my eyes. She placed her hands on my back and then new energy entered my body. Third person's POV. Boom asterisk. With an explosion, Scathach flew meters away and crashed on the ground. Though she gave Einar 4 hours, the beast only lasted for half and an hour in the ice barrier before tearing it apart. Now she was facing him for quite some time. It was hard to stop it from reaching Einar, but she still managed to stop the beast. Why are you helping a foreign entity? You know that he will harm our universe. Alea appeared and spoke to grounded Scathach. There is nothing to lose. It would be more reason to help him to destroy the world if it means death for me. Besides, I am sick to follow this predetermined fate of ours. Why should we even suffer? Scathach said and spat on Alea's face. Very well then. I will grant you a temporary death. Alea said and then signaled the white beast that came near her and began to charge an energy beam to kill Queen of Shadows. Scathach gritted her teeth and began to cast a primordial rune to escape from the beast, but she knew that it was too late. She closed her eyes and smiled, forgive this weak Shersho for not buying enough time. She was then engulfed in white light and waited for her death, but nothing happened. No need to apologize, Shersho. Scathach opened her eyes when she heard that voice. She was in a beautiful transparent round cage dressed with green vines, adding more beauty to the cage. In front of her was a person, no, a real fairy. He had neck-long blonde hair tied with a single braid and was wearing a 3-piece lavish silver suit. What was more enthralling were his pair of golden glowing wings, enchanted with beautiful colors, and a full crown on his head. Scathach was so thrilled by the sight of the fairy that she forgot she was about to vanish. When he turned his head and finally showed his face, Scathach witnessed the sight of the most beautiful person she has ever seen. Scathach, the unrivaled beauty herself, got petrified and her heart began to pound like a drum. The boy chuckled and spoke, "I am back, Shersho." He was her disciple, in full fairy form, Einar Sirius du Lac. Einar's POV. I could see Scathach standing there and staring at me with mouth wide open. Well, she was not in the wrong as I finally left my humanity to become a fairy god and achieve true spirit from. Stats. Name, Einar Sirius. Race, fairy god. Age, 33. Physique. Strength, B+++-A. Mana, EX. Endurance, A-A+. Agility, A-A+++. Luck, EX+++. Divinity, A+++, an active ability that you could use separately to apply special effects on your attacks against any enemy considered evil, corrupted, or judged to be wrong. It also increased the intensity of your attack by 800%. True Spirit Form, a temporary form that you have achieved by combining true fairy blood with the divinity rank A+++. The host can use this form for a day. It increased speed and magic attacks by 100%. Though my parameters didn't seem better except for my luck and agility, the divinity and privileges of using true spirit form far surpassed those trivial matters. I was also feeling great, but there was a certain cost. Anyway, I walked towards Scathach and gently closed her mouth. I then fixed her clothes, which were torn from the fight, and whispered in her ear, "Shersho, wait for a little. I will deal with that mutt in no time." I smiled, and without waiting for her response, I came out from Pollen Garden that didn't even take a single scratch from the energy beam the beast just fired. As if snapped out from her stupor, Scathach knocked the wall of Pollen Garden and spoke, "Wait, how you are going to face it while protecting me?" Just as she asked, the beast leaped towards me but then received a solid punch from 15 meters giant stuffed bear with 6 hands. Bam! The beast flew and crashed on a boulder like a bullet. I turned my face and looked at the shocked expression on Scathach's face. "You were saying something? How?" "Hee, don't worry. As I said earlier, I got this," I assured Scathach, who nodded and just decided to enjoy the show. Foo! I heard a howl and saw the beast standing up. "You are a persistent mutt. I think it is time for some animal abuse." I smirked, then materialized hundreds of glowing swords. Chastiefol True Spirit, increase. I smiled and then turned my finger down. The sword shined and rained straight on the white beast, nailing him on the ground. "I am still warning you, don't you care about the future of humanity?" Alea appeared beside the white beast, whining in pain. I didn't listen to a thing she said and snapped my fingers. A giant 30-meter stem raised from the ground, the bud on top bloomed, revealing beautiful sunflower. Chastiefol True Spirit, sunflower. Just as I called the name, the flower charged itself in no time and fired a devastating energy beam on the embedded white beast. Boom! Like a nuke erasing everything from its existence, a giant dome of energy surrounded the area where it was fired. I was still sensing the mutt and knew that it was still alive and trying to absorb energy to heal itself, but I didn't want to give that mutt a chance, so I snapped my fingers again and materialized 20 meters long spear with a flower-shaped blade on its end. I then poured maximum energy on the spear that made it covered in intense golden flare and then pointed my fingers at the mutt. "You know what? Fuck future. Fuck humanity. And fuck you. Chastiefol." I roared as the spear vanished and clashed with the mutt like a thunderbolt. Boom! I hurriedly dematerialized every form of Chastiefol and entered the Pollen Garden to avoid being sucked in the explosion. Soon the whole atmosphere turned white due to nuking the area, but Pollen Garden still protected both of us. "What?" I saw Scathach looking at me like I was some kind of alien. "Nothing. You are not seriously thinking to be killed like that, are you?" I asked dryly. She shrugged her shoulders and looked away. Then after a few minutes, the energy began to dim down as another view started to get clear. What greeted our eyes was a complete annihilation of land out of its existence. The land around 3,000 kilometers wide turned into nothing less. The explosion was so disastrous that even shook reality itself. Land of Asgard was gone with one tremendous attack, and now in the void, only chunks of land were remaining. I soon found a dry land around 20 meters and landed the Pollen Garden on it. I then dematerialized Pollen Garden and my true spirit from Erg. I fell on my knees, just as made certain of my safety. Hang on there, disciple. I told you several times not to push yourself too hard in this kind of situation. Scathach came and gave me a shoulder, but I refused her assistance and stood up. Haha, it was the first time that I went all out. But worry not, the fight is over. Victory is mine. I checked and said. To be honest, when I came out of Avalon, I had only 8% mana left and I used almost every mana point I had in that assault. Scathach was also exhausted since I couldn't see Gate of Sky anywhere. Scotty is angry for destroying her homeland, Scathach spoke. Wait, I thought she died? Yes, she died in a sense of eternal sleep. I have to wake her up to save your ass. She said with a monotone and somewhat sarcastic tone. Sorry, I will talk to her later since we have a company here, I said as our sight fell on Alea's glowing eyes and her katana unsheathed. Since I can't act against a human, I don't have to stop myself now, Alea said and leaped forward straight towards me with the blade pointed straight at me. Watch out. Scathach also ran to try and protect me, but I didn't move an inch. As I said the fight is over and victory is mine, I smirked with my hands crossed. Clang asterisk. Alea's blade stopped by another blade of crimson color. Alea opened her eyes wide when she saw the person holding a large crimson blade. The person appeared to be another girl around 15 years old with pink bob-cut hair and was wearing Japanese bloomers with Tanaka written on them. Sister. Alea opened her mouth and called the person opposite to her. This is enough, sister. Pink-head girl, Tanaka spoke with monotone. Why are you defending this bug? He is a threat to humanity. The age of men will hinder or even be halted due to this unwanted existence. Alea then put away her blade and asked the reason why her sister Tanaka was defending me. Everything may sound correct, but if you don't stop here then the whole world or even universe could collapse, Tanaka spoke and pointed at me. What? How? Alea looked at me with questioning looks. I smirked, then materialized a purple orb Aldon in my hand. It was glowing brightly. Everyone was confused until Tanaka spoke, the Earth itself left the orbit. There are only a few months or even weeks until the whole world gets destroyed. Now Alea and Scathach widened their eyes. The second noble phantasm that I named after my own fate against fight. My greatest spell, my grand spell. I pronounced the name of my second noble phantasm and my ultimate weapon. Yes, fate against fight. The grand spell that I constructing using divine rune to stop Alea. The will of this world is divided into two forces, Alea and Gaia. The pink-head girl was the manifestation of Gaia, Earth's counterforce, and the opposite of Alea, humanity's counterforce. So how could I stop Alea? There are two ways, either wipe out humanity or bring something of equal force, so my bet was Gaia. How I did that? My noble phantasm is directly connected to Root, the core of this universe where every record of the universe is being kept. I just have to make a command that triggers the Root, just like I brought Gaia to help me. I put a command to turn the direction of Earth's moving force from its orbit. Give few more days and the whole Earth will soon die down. Although it is based on the luck factor and looked like suicide bombing, I don't have to worry about it since it worked. That was my whole plan. If you have to fight something that you can't defeat with normal means, then bright something of equal force. And guess what? It was only one of several functions of my noble phantasm. Very well. Mr. Einar, I admit my defeat here and I won't try to eliminate you now, but please fix this problem. Alea, as if devoid of any shame, requested. Very well. I nodded and snapped my fingers and put another command to fix Earth's rotation and stopped Earth from destruction. Many people including my beloveds would die and I had no desire to go for genocide if the problem is solved. I also didn't need to worry about trust since Alea was not a human and there was no need to worry about something like betrayal. Alea stared at me for one final time before disappearing from the spot. With her final leave, my victory was assured. Einar's POV. After Alea left, the girl named Tanaka turned her face and looked at me. Hehe, you are so handsome. And that's the first thing she said when she saw me, showing expression opposite from her sister. Thanks. I didn't know what to say. She then raised her hands and a sleeping furry creature appeared in her hands. Look what you have done to him. I was saving this thing to erase humans if they go for trouble, but now, its powers are like a drop of a water bucket. She said, showing me a sleeping cute creature. Can't believe that something like this was trying to kill me a few minutes ago and now it turned into a fluffy rabbit. She then gave the white fur ball to me, before I notice, keep him safe. He was just being used by my sister. And one more thing, Mr. Bug, dash. It's Einar. And one more thing, Mr. Wiener, if not sister, then the whole universe will try something to eliminate you. Even if you somehow manage to evade Alea, the stars are indicating your existence as a foreign object and won't stop until it eliminates you. So sayonara, and hope we never meet again. Tanaka said and disappeared. What the? I could only scratch my head at her antics and decided to put that warning on another tomorrow. For now, I was freaking exhausted. Looks like it is finally over, Scat spoke. Yeah. I nodded while staring at the cute furball. My inner self was screaming to crack this animal's neck and somehow kill him, but I decided against it. I opened a portal and threw the former beast into Avalon. It was not harmful anymore, and someone would need his company too. It's over for now. I looked straight in the void sky and sighed. How does it feel to lose humanity? Yeah, it's horrible. Sucks, doesn't it? You bet. To be honest, although my feelings for the people I care about were the same, I was feeling a sense of superiority that every living being should be beneath my feet. It was hard for me to control this kind of effect since I was now a fairy god, but I still managed to be myself, because that's who I truly am. Being a divine being, leaving the human world along with the memories and emotion attached to it forever. That was why I never dared to turn myself into a complete fairy, because I feared losing my humanity more than anything. Also, I would have to live as a god of fairies forever until or unless this whole universe is gone. I was feeling a sense of loss since it would be impossible to spend a life I so desired for all eternity, a desire to live with her. Guess it's time to go back, huh? Scat said and was about to cast some spells to return, but I stopped her. Sure show, I have a request. I spoke with a straight face. What is it? Before that sure show, I have to give you something in return that I promised before, I said and then put my hand in the book storage to take the treasure out. She tilted her head with a questionable look until I took out a silver orb similar to Aldan. Sure show, this is called Aldan Deus, sister treasure of regular Aldan, that I was using. I introduced the silver orb that looks like a ball-shaped diamond and gives it to Scat. This is quite a good TR, wait this energy. She was about to treat it as jewelry until she felt immense, magical energy from the orb and looked at me with a surprise on her face. I smiled, looked at her affectionately. You see sure show, when I said that I will repay you by saving you, then I mean it. Einar. Yes, this treasure will make a copy and put it in the existence of the person named Scat in your instead, freeing you from endless suffering. You will become a normal human and can now roam in the human world. You can achieve your desires. I explained the function of the orb. It will make a carbon copy of Scat that would be perceived as normal Scat to the root that would render her authority and her immortality over Land of Shadows useless, and she can finally leave that land forever. I now fully understand how the function of this land works. This world uses the people that appeared in the legend and their pitiful fates as stepping stones to push humanity to the law of physics. I know it is ugly, but that is what it is. However, in the end, it is just a legend. As long as the legend in question exists, the automated law forces of this universe wouldn't care. I didn't intend to use Aldan Deus, but when I decided to make such kind of noble phantasm, I had to do something for this person that placed the final brick on the wall of my strength. I then gently held her hands and spoke, you see sure show, no, Scat I love you, not as a teacher, but as someone of the opposite gender. I finally confessed. I then looked at her crimson eyes and continued, I love you, Scat and as a stubborn person who has given a heart to a woman, I can't possibly even think to kill you. From the time we spent together, I have generated feelings to marry you, bed you, lust your body, and then have children. That's how I desire you. I confessed my true feelings in a single breath. What was her reaction? She just continued to stare at me as if waiting for something more and then returned to her land. I began to become embarrassed since I used some vulgar words for my teacher who I respected most until she placed her arms around my neck and closed the distance between our faces as our lips connected. I widened her eyes and saw her smirking eyes as if making fun of me while her tongue was exploring my mouth. So that's how it is? I also smirked and activated my kissing skills. In a second, I turned the tables as I forced my tongue in her mouth and saw her cheeks and ears turning red. She moaned as I continued to kiss her while my hands roaming her body. My left hand was fondling her breast while my right hand exploring her ass and neither region. I also tore her suit to surge the pleasure at maximum as my fingers entered in her 2 holes. God, I really wanted to do that for so long. I thanked my fate that let me taste her body for the first time. She moaned without any disapproval of my lustrous attacks. After kissing for few minutes, our lips left each other's company with a single silver string hanging. Huff asterisk huff asterisk. She began to pant since my killing smooching was another level. Our lips may have parted by I didn't let go of her body. How could I? It was finally the time to explore her body and I wanted to gain maximum profit. You are one perverted and dirty student. What about your first lover? She already permitted me to make you my second wife. I would never approach a woman without her approval and she knows that. I said while fondling her standard breast. So much perfection. I then finally let go of her and put some distance after fixing her attire. Few more minutes of lusting at her and I won't be able to stop myself to have sex with her. Are you going to save your woman? The situation of Camelot didn't seem right when I last saw it. I sighed since I knew it would happen. I had no idea how the hell things escalated to that point. Arturia was mature, so she should have handled Mordred better, while Mordred would never raise a rebel against her father unless it was for me. I remember how I treated both of them coldly, despite making a close relationship, and then I slapped both of them. I had made up with Arturia, but what about Mordred? It was hard to believe that she would go to such lengths, but I have to go and amends for my mistakes. Yes, because if I back down, I will become a coward embarrassing you and my 2 other mentors. I smiled and opened a portal. Fufu, that's my student, but you will lose your godly powers here. She chucked and reminded me of another factor. Once I step foot in the human world, I would turn into a complete human. There is a reason why gods and other phantasmal species left the human world, and that because Earth only supports physical laws as the magic is disappearing like water in the desert. And, by this BS, please. I know, but I have to stop the mess that I am also responsible for. If not, then there is no value for me to live. What if I still desire death? Then I would gladly kill you even if I have to crush my heart as your happiness means my happiness. She smiled with rosy cheeks and nodded, stay alive. She was finally showing emotions as a normal human. I will. I also smiled and then set foot in the human world. What greeted my eyes was hell. Einar's POV. Leaving my powers as a normal powerless human, I saw true hell. The beautiful greenery of Camlan was painted with blood. Clang asterisk clang asterisk clang asterisk. Clashes of swords were echoing the battlefield. Blood was spilling wherever you see. The sky was also red, cursing the lunacy of people fighting for no good reason. In this madness, everything was clear. This land was cursed by none other than Alea. That bitch was able to succeed installing me in that separate reality. I have to stop them. My heart clenched when I recalled my memories about her pitiful fate. If you look deeply, it was also my fault that I, even after meddling in, was not able to change anything. I take out a sword and then began to make my way to the top of the hill. Lord Einar. In midst of my way, I heard a familiar voice and turned my face to see a woman with silver hair and a dark cloak. Morgan Le Fay. I spoke her name. I then remembered a scene from Fate/Apocrypha where she was the one who induced Mordred to betray King Arthur and start a rebellion. That's right. I am the one behind all of this. I am the one who deluded Mordred to make this happen. And guess the real reason behind her despair? You. Thanks to your cold-hearted nature, Mordred found out about your relationship with my brother. And she did not raise rebel against King Arthur for the throne but for making you suffer, Lord Einar. And me. I became ashamed of myself. I never considered the feeling of that child since I was so focused on Arturia and then treated her harshly. It was my fault. Another mistake was to let Morgan go. I gritted my teeth and grabbed her neck. Who? I was about to choke her to death, but then saw a black miasma leaking from her body. Alea, that fucking bitch, cursed her. I lose the grip and asked her, tell me Morgan, why do you still call me, Lord Einar, when we are still enemies? What do you mean? You are the most respected person. Ah. She then shook her head as if suffering from severe headaches. Another mistake I was going to make because of anger. Do you want me to punish you? Yes. Kill me and make me suffer as you did to other people. With a mad smile on her face, she pleaded. Then Lady Morgan, I forgive you. I didn't want to bore any more hatred for anyone. It was my fault to neglect these matters from the start even after having sufficient time to fix them. Lady Morg, and forgive me? But Lord Einar, why, don't you see what I have done? She asked with her eyes wide open. You are responsible, but I have forgiven you, Lady Morgan. This is your punishment. I said with a weak smile and then took my sword and left. Forgive me? No way. Morgan smiled and then dropped to the ground. I then saw the illusion wears off and her real state was revealed. She had messy hair and dark circles around her eyes. There are some open wounds from arrows struck on her arms and legs. I could only pity her since she was also a victim and respected me all the time, but because of the curse, she became like this. A pound of clear water then surrounded her body before taking her within it. I smiled and thanked Vivian one last time. I have to go. I held my sword and then ran towards the hill since that was where both of them would be fighting. I then understand how weak I was as a human. Without fairy power, I was nothing but a mere knight. I don't have any more power, I only have a single drop of magic that I couldn't even use to make my way easily around the hill. Clang asterisk. My sight then fell on Gawain, who was fighting with a person in purple armor. Lancelot. Gawain. Sir Einar, help me stop this scum. I don't want K. Gawain was in middle to convince me when Lancelot took this chance and knocked him out. Brother. I know I shouldn't be here, but when I heard the news of Mordred raising rebellion, I couldn't stop myself and just watch. Lancelot came near me and then gave me a shoulder. Haha. I knew that what kind of scum you are. Did you leave your wife alone? I asked and then stood up after removing arrows from my knees. She is fine and expecting a child. When she heard the news, she was the one who sent me to help you. Let's go, brother, we can't waste any more time. Lancelot then held his sword and slashed an enemy soldier behind me. He was also injured, but I could now understand the hard work he put. I nodded and then we continued to make our way from the horde of knights dunked with the madness of war, and now they weren't even discriminating between foe or friend. Soon we were able to get closer, but seeing Lancelot pushing himself for me, I knocked him out so that he won't lose his life. Che asterisk. A bird cried in agony, desperately searching for a land to land and take a rest, but carcasses and the thick smell of blood made it impossible for the pure creature to survive as it gave up on its life and fell on the ground like adding a drop of water in the pool. Huff asterisk huff asterisk. With a sword supporting me and a depressed look upon my face and eyes void of light, I was panting and walking with every might in my body to reach the top of the hill. What did I do wrong? Why it turned out like this? Why I didn't stop them? Why let them fight in my watch even after knowing that it will only result in bloodshed? Why I didn't take the correct decision? What's the point of knowing something in advance if you can't change a single problem? Was that my fate to just watch everything folds in front of me? Why I didn't untie my hands and step forward to take things in my hands? These were the thoughts of the helpless me. I stopped thinking when I realized something, but just give a helpless smile since the answer was simple. I was a coward. Huff asterisk huff asterisk. My breathings were heavy. Why wouldn't it be? I was wounded all over my body. Many arrows were sticking out from my back and arms. I was so tired that didn't even have the strength to remove those arrows or cure my wounds. The pain was unbearable, but the pain in my heart overcame all my bearings a long time ago. I could only focus to move forward. Just like a person ready to die at any moment, my state of affairs was also similar. Images of his happy moments were circulating in front of me. Moments with the people I loved, their bright smiles, and their praises for me as a supportive teacher, a kind uncle, and a foul lover, all were moments I spent in this new world. I couldn't even shed a tear as they dried down a long time ago. I didn't even have moments to grieve on these thoughts as time was the essence. Huff asterisk huff asterisk. Why? I was still in dilemma. What choice is left for me? Should I give up? If I give up, will I be able to live with the guilt? As a person of foul pride, I cannot abide by this. Clang asterisk clang asterisk clang asterisk. Soon I saw two knights fighting on the hill of Camlin. One was in red and the other was in blue. They were none other than Arturia and Mordred. Arturia's face was devoid of any emotion as if possessed by a ghost, but Mordred was shedding deep hatred for Arturia and I could hear my name on her mouth. I tried to raise my voice to stop them somehow and clear some misunderstandings, but I was too weak to approach them. They were in their own world, neglecting everything around them. Soon, the battle reached the point when Artoria raised the holy spear Reincarnated when I recalled the scene. No, she is going to kill Mordred. I knew that it would be a dead end, but unlike the original timeline, the cause of all of this was me. Then some question appeared right before my eyes. If you were given another chance to live a life, you will do everything right? You will become powerful and do whatever you want? You will get all the beautiful girls on the land and live happily? You will achieve immortality and live forever? Your reasons for doing so? The answer is, I don't know. If you know someone's fate and you knew that it is not a very blessed one, will you try to change it? Sure, if the person is someone you love, you will do so to stop such fate, but what if the same person denied your constant help? If the said person knew their fate all along yet he still moves forward, what will you do? Will you still stand to their side and move forwards to the ends of the world if you love such a person? Even if you have to be a coward, you will move forward with them and help them? The answer is, I will help them. I looked at them and cast the last magic spell. What will you do if such fate is forced by the will of the world itself? Will you deny such fate even if I cost you severely? Will you fight such foolish and selfish will to make your way to help your loved one even if it requires you to sacrifice yourself? Yes. I am Einar Sirius Dulac and I would sacrifice anything for them. As I roared my answer with firm determination, my eyes glowed. Third person's POV. After killing another knight, Mordred finally reached the top of the hill where King Arthur or Artoria was waiting with her sword Excalibur. Arthur, no, Artoria, look. With this, your country is over. Mordred confessed. However, Artoria remained silent for a brief amount of time then spoke. Tell me, Mordred, what makes you so obsessed with the throne? Fuck throne. Your whole existence is a sin. So am I. If not for you, Teach, that pitiful fairy wouldn't have shown me hatred. Why? Just why you made him suffer. Tell me, Artoria Pendragon. Again Artoria remained silent. Gore. HIA. Mordred grunted with hatred and charge at Artoria. Clang asterisk clang asterisk. After a couple of strikes, Mordred was able to knock Excalibur out of Artoria's hand. However, Artoria then manifested a shiny spiral-shaped lance, Reincarnated. Mordred, it is true that I made Einar suffer a lot. Artoria said, and in a blink of an eye, she appeared right in front of Mordred. Mordred panicked since she knew she was not going to dodge it on time. However, we still love each other and for him, I will do anything, Artoria said and then pierced the person in front of her with her lance. Kawa. However, she heard a different voice from someone she knew. Einar. She spoke the name of the person she just killed. Teach. Mordred, who appeared a little far away, screamed the name of the person who sacrificed himself for her. Splash asterisk. Artoria then retrieved her lance and Einar just fell on the ground like a puppet whose strings have been cut. Teach. Mordred screamed and ran towards her mentor while tearing her armor off and then embraced Einar in her arms. More, dread. Einar spoke weakly, taking his last breath. What have I done? I shouldn't have rebelled. I shouldn't have. Teach, you can punish me however you can, but please don't leave me. With tears in her eyes, Mordred let go of any hatred for Artoria and just prayed for Einar to stay alive. She also sensed that something happened to Einar since she couldn't feel any magic from him. He was wounded all around his body and his treasure, Chastiefol, was also missing. Give me, for treating you harshly. Einar smiled and spoke. Don't say that, Teach. I will be a good girl from now on. Please don't die on me. Just give me one last chance, Teach. Mordred was looking around to find his book Chastiefol and somehow activate it to heal him. Just don't fight and live. Einar said while gently caressing Mordred's cheek with blood on his hand. Mordred gently held his hand while tears were flowing from her eyes. She knew that what she has done, even if she was in someone else's control, was an irredeemable mistake. Her beloved Teach sacrificed himself for her. Einar looked at Artoria, who was silently watching Einar taking last breath and smile. Artoria just moved her lips as if saying something softly that only he could understand. Einar smiled, then closed his eyes, and accepting the death of honor that he also wished once. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kayashin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my P at Trian. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Wilnet Duverne. Yami Tancho. Harold's Martinsons. If you liked the content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll stay here until next time.